This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Resolved. Raj Vivian from the opposition side, Seeta High School. We keep on asking them these questions, but they give no response. We ask them, what is the digital readiness of Uganda to adopt cashless transactions? They give us no answer. We ask them, I don't know if you're ready to answer the questions right now, or I keep asking. What is the digital readiness of Uganda to adopt cashless transactions?
Pardon?
What is the digital readiness of Uganda to adopt cashless transactions?
We are more than
And
ready
there,
as
you took
Uganda
so
to
How
accommodate
independent?
cashless transaction.
Excuse me, listen. I'm giving you only, in 2 seconds, if you do not answer my questions, you have no response. How independent is your policy?
They
that
are
you're
more than
fronting?
independent because we are going to account
Thank you. How effective will your policy be?
They are going to stop
Thank
corruption.
you. How are they going to stop corruption?
Through accounting
Thank
for, by knowing the person.
Thank you, end there. Do you believe cashless transactions have been there, but we still see rise in corruption?
No?
So you agree with us? They are not even helping us. So how are you fronting for something that has been existing, but it's not helping us? How do you want to adopt? How do you want us to adopt that? Do you believe that loopholes in using cashless transactions outweigh its usage? Do you believe its loopholes outweigh its usage?
Pardon?
This is what I'm saying. Learn how to listen better. So, this is what I'm saying. They have so many loopholes, but they give us a policy that does not fix them. We say there is phishing of money. These things need internet. Of where we see in Uganda, there are very many places that do not even have internet. They do not have electricity. So how do you expect a cashless transaction to be continued? How? They come here. Do you believe that without lifestyle audits, checks and balances, in the end, we are not going to have any accountability of your cashless transactions?
No.
Then you just don't understand. Their first speaker comes here and tells us that in the end, after the cashless transaction is carried out, they are going to go and see who was the money sent to. When was it sent to? Isn't that an audit?
We talked about audit trails.
Excuse me, it's my time to speak. So we see that in the end, their policy is not independent. Their cashless transaction it's all about, has the money reached safely? Now, if it's the people in the system that are corrupt and they're the very people managing the devices that they're using for the cashless transactions, how are you fighting corruption in the end? How are you managing these people in the end? Because all you care about, the cashless transactions, all they care about is money being transferred. You can take your seat, I'm done asking you. All the money, the cashless transactions care about is, has money reached safely? Yes, and that's where it ends. So if this person receiving the money is corrupt, how are you going to fight the corruption in the end? That's when we say, if we are working together with the audits, the lifestyle audits, the checks and balances, the whistleblowers, we are going to curb corruption faster than what they are fronting for us. They come here and tell us there is stressing. I would like to ask the House, if I tell you I gave you this amount of money, but I'm seeing development, if I gave you 5 million for development, but I'm only seeing development for 2 million, where is that 3 million that was supposed to help? Isn't that stressing for the money? In the end, you're responsible for the money. So if I question you and you have no accountability, aren't you corrupt? Aren't we capturing the corrupt officials? That is how we are going to curb the corruption. But with their cashless transaction, they do not show us that it's going to be effective in the end. With that, I would love to say, we present our cases as audits, lifestyle audits, and checks and balances, plus whistleblowers. I rest my case.
Resolved. The panel, the two antagonistic sides, plus the August House. A good evening. My name is Naomi Gift from St.Noa, Mawagali, and I'm the last speaker from the affirmative side. Our resolution today states that cashless transactions will be the greatest steps towards ending corruption. I'm going to first ask my dear opponent a few questions. Tell me one place in Uganda which does not access internet, which does not have internet.
We have villages in Karamoja, for your information.
Thank you. Do we have power stations in Uganda?
Pardon?
Do we have power stations in Uganda?
Not in all places.
Has sensitization been conducted in Uganda today?
No.
Thank you. Is robbery related to corruption?
Yes.
Thank you. Have people been working together to solve corruption?
Yes.
Then why did the Iron Sheik saga happen?
Pardon?
Then why did the Iron Sheik saga happen?
In the end, in Twisichitu to
Thank
go
you,
into
please.
jail.
Thank you. Has corruption just started today?
No.
What's your body?
We come as the inspectorate of
Thank you,
government.
please. Our dear judges, the negators are coming here and they are telling us that cashless transactions is not the greatest step towards ending corruption. But as we team affirmatives, we are saying it is the greatest step. Do you know why? Because you can take your seat, please. You can take your seat. Our dear panel, I'm putting this into your notes, please. We have been having sensitization. We have been having whistleblowers, but still corruption has been happening in Uganda. That's why we are coming up with cashless transactions, so that all the steps have failed. Our dear judges, we are telling the negators that cashless transactions is the only steps that can help to end corruption. Because our policy, our dear judges, the negators have come and told us that they told me that I should listen very well. But I think they are the ones with the listening problems, because we said it very well, our policy. And it says, we are going to account for who made the transaction, when was the transaction made, to whom was the transaction made, did the transaction reach, for what purpose was it, was the purpose fulfilled? We are going to do this through our UCC, our dear panel. UCC, we are going to use the telecommunication networks like MTN and Airtel to receive the messages, because we are going to be using cashless transactions to receive the messages that are going to be evidences whether the transaction was the transaction fulfilled. Our dear panel, we are saying cashless transactions will be the greatest steps towards ending corruption. The negators are not really understanding what they are talking about, because in Uganda today we have been having sensitizations. They are here trying to lie to us that sensitizations have been not there. Oh my God, our dear panel, I want to ask this, and I want to put this into your notes, that corruption is known, even children know corruption, our dear panel. So everyone knows corruption, and there have been sensitizations. The whistleblowers have been there, but corruption still happened. The iron sheets were embezzled. That's why we say, if the project of iron sheets was cashless, and instead of distributing iron sheets, we use cashless transactions, corruption wouldn't have happened. That scenario wouldn't have happened. I conclude by saying that cashless transactions are the greatest steps towards ending corruption. I rest my case.
Debaters, thank you for a hotly contested debate, and thank you for doing proper research. I will authoritatively tell you that some of the things you're covering now are going to help you a lot later in life. I've had Witness Protection Act, I've had Anti-Corruption Act Section 2. I have heard of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act. These are things that people are having to learn while in university or in their working life, and you've gotten to interact with this information at a fairly early time during your secondary school. I believe this knowledge is going to aid you a lot and will distinguish you from the masses who, as you debate, will make noise. So I credit you for doing proper research. I also credit you for predominantly understanding the essence of speaker role and responsibilities. Most of you here today have seen that we have struggled throughout the onset of the competition, but that has been addressed fully. Allow me therefore to begin on the role of speaker roles and responsibilities by speaking to the fourth negator. Fourth negator, the purpose of cross-examination is to find loopholes, inconsistencies, weaknesses in your opponent's case. We do this by predominantly asking close-ended question. Close-ended question means a question that requires as precise of a response. Therefore, instead of asking, what is the digital readiness of Uganda to adopt cashless transactions? You would rather ask, is Uganda ready to adopt cashless transactions? Then depending on their yes or no answer, you correlate that while drawing an inconsistency in their case. 2 minutes for cross-examination. But you hear the bell and extend 20 seconds into minutes that are out of cross-examination. It speaks a lot and it informs the judges that you did not appreciate the role of cross-examination. Meaning, insofar as your cross-examination is inconsistent with the style which is premeditated and expected of everyone, you will be faulted very many times.
First and foremost, I want to thank both teams, Team Affirmative and Team Negative. That was a very good debate with very far-reaching levels of research. People talked about the Anti-Corruption Act. People talked about the Whistleblowers Act. Anything to do with that, by virtue that you bring it up at such a stage, it is very motivating and very interesting. Now, this being a policy debate, you find out that in most instances of the policy debate, judgments are made based on the strategy. Now, the strategy means that if one team comes up with an alternative, it is pretty much that the other team has also come up with an alternative. Meaning, at the end of the day, one team has to refute to the strategy of the other, justify theirs, then the other team also refutes on the strategy of the other group, and then it also solidifies on their case. So in today's debate, I really appreciate the fact that both teams came up with an alternative. Team Affirmative came up with an alternative of tracing who made the transaction, when was it made, and at the end of the day, we are going to find out what was the purpose, or was the purpose fulfilled for the transaction made. Team Negative also came up with an alternative of audits, checks and balances, and then the whistleblowing through the Whistleblowers Act. But then, Team Affirmative came and asked a question. One, don't you think sensitization has been taking place? Number two, don't you also have the fact that these whistleblowers are also human beings like you? Hence, at a certain point of time, they can be corrupt. You get the point? Yes, when Team Negative came, you said a whistleblower is a person who erases a fallacy that is taking place in society. But then, answer the question, don't you think this whistleblower can also be a corrupt person by virtue that he or she is a human being? Then whenever you are giving your policy, yes, I appreciate the fact that Team Negative, you gave your policy. But remember, they are advocating for cashless transactions. For us, we are advocating for transactions that involve hard cash. Now, whenever you are giving a policy, draw it back to what you are advocating for. Yes, you gave a rate policy, which I advocate for and which I agree with. But at the end of the day, draw a causal link between the policy you have given to what you are advocating for.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for such a kind of implementation of policies to the discussion of day-to-day life. I remember when I sat to set this resolution, I was looking at how can people go in terms of defining it and giving it all that it needs. Now, to me, I will re-echo what my judges have said, but also, at the same time, look at the loopholes and look at which team between the two of you really made my day and understood the gist at least. When we talk of style, that one to you, both of you, you have the marks from me, which are equal marks. The content, all of you have been bringing content, you have researched your work and stuff. The only point comes to now the strategy part of it, where the strategy part of it, I remember it came from the parameters itself. We talked of a parameter being Uganda, and this is what I advise people. Sometimes setting a parameter is good, but look at, if I'm setting this parameter, in case I'm asked questions of the status quo, question that align that parameter at that time, will I be answerable to it? Fourth speaker, you brought the question of iron sheets. As we are talking right now, His Excellency Amos Lugowolvi, not to mention his name, is in what? Prison. You get my point? So also understand which kind of parameter are you setting, and can you defend your parameter at any point? That's why when the team negators came and asked you, is your parameter Uganda, and you accepted that, you said yes, and they asked you, what's your house? You will understand to me, the way me I understand, ladies and gentlemen, you'll agree with me, you will disagree with me, but this is how I understand. World Fund can't give you money to come and fight corruption in your country, to be sincere. They don't do that. And that's why the third negator came and asked you, how will the World Fund push money to come and fight this corruption in our already corrupted country? One thing even the second speaker I underlined here, you mentioned about the laws that are in Uganda that will show. Give us those laws. Don't leave it like that. Give us those laws. Mention them, even a few. Don't leave anything unturned. No stone to be left unturned, because you are trying to implement a policy. The same to negators, which could kill you in that manner. When we are talking of whistleblowers, you had no to come and tell us how whistleblowers have contributed to it, not leaving it hanging like that. But to me, to my guests, and the way I have seen the debate, I fall more to the team negators. Thank you.